Well, the 41st President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, is still lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda behind me, but not much longer because the funeral procession will be getting underway later today. Now, that will take the hearse along some of the most illustrious routes here in the U.S. Capitol. That includes Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll take him from the U.S. Capitol here past the White House. That is pretty much exactly the route he would have taken when he was inaugurated as president in 1989. Of course, this funeral procession will be passing by that place where he worked for 4 years between 1989 and 1993, namely the White House. It will also pass by the Naval Observatory, where George H.W. Bush lived as the vice president for 8 years. It will then end at the National Cathedral for the national funeral service, and that will be attended, as you said, by the 4 current living U.S. presidents, and includes, of course, the current president, Donald Trump.
Philip, is it looking like it's going to be a day of political unity?
Well, so far so good, we'd have to say at this point, because, of course, when we're talking about unity, the question we're asking ourselves is how will Donald Trump behave today? And, of course, he hasn't done so well with other big funerals here in the U.S. Capitol. Remember the one of former Senator John McCain that the U.S. president was actually not invited to. He's invited to this one, of course, and so far the U.S. president has shown a lot of dignity toward the Bush family. The reason why we're talking about this is because there's been a very long feud, actually, between Donald Trump and the Bush family as long as the presidential election in 2016. That's when Donald Trump insulted Jeb Bush, the son of George H.W. Bush. It's a very, very thorny relationship between the two families. But clearly the 41st president of the United States, George H.W. Bush, who'll be celebrated and commemorated here today, he wanted the current president to be at his funeral service. And what we've heard from those who've come here to the U.S. Capitol to pay their respects while George H.W. Bush was lying in state is that they indeed wanted to show some kind of political unity. A lot of those who I spoke to, they remember George H.W. Bush as somebody who showed a lot of dignity in his life as a statesman. And of course, they are making that comparison to the current divisive political climate here in Washington. This is what tends to happen, of course, when a U.S. president gets laid to rest, and that will happen with the 41st president tomorrow in Texas. There is unity in the country. The two parties do tend to come together. Of course, it's usually only a matter of time before those old divisions become apparent again. But today is all about both political parties and all living U.S. presidents coming together at the National Cathedral to pay their respects.